Hi, this is Vanshika Chauhan and I am working as a legal intern with Lexis & Company, and today I'll be talking about the status of marital rape in India. So domestic violence in India is an entrenched topic and it has only been exacerbated in the recent year. According to the National Crime Record Bureau's report Crime in India of 2019, it reported that about 70% of Indian women are victims of domestic violence, and one of the manifestations of domestic violence is marital rape. The act of forcing your spouse into having sexual relationship without proper consent is an unjust yet not unknown way of degrading and disempowering women. Marital rape today has been impeached in more than 100 countries, whereas India, unfortunately, is one of the 36 countries where marital rape is still not criminalized. Even though many legal amendments have been brought about in order for the protection of women, the non-criminalization of marital rape in India undermines the dignity and human rights of women. The status of marital rape in India is not yet defined, whereas the definition of rape is given under section 375 of IPC, which includes all forms of sexual assault including non-sexual intercourse with a woman. However, exception 2 of section 375 exempts unwilling sexual intercourse between a husband and a wife over 15 years of age from section 375 definition of rape, and thus it immunizes such acts from prosecution. As per the current law, a wife is presumed to deliver perpetual consent to have sex with her husband after entering into a marital knot. The concept of marital rape in India is an epitome of what we call an implied consent. Marriage between a man and a woman here implies that both have consented to have sexual intercourse and it cannot be otherwise. So marital rape is against a lot of legal and constitutional rights, the very first being the doctrine of coverture. The non-criminalized nature of marital rape emanates from the British era. The marital rape largely was influenced by and was derived from this doctrine of merging the woman's identity with that of a man, or which is her husband. At the time the IPC was being drafted in 1860s, a married woman was not considered to be an independent legal entity, and the marital exception to the IPC's definition of rape was drafted on the basis of Victorian patriarchal norms that did not recognize men and women as equals and did not allow women to have their own property, and also merged the identities of man and woman under the doctrine of coverture. Mainly, it is a violation of Article 14 of the Constitution of India. It violates the right to equality enshrined under Article 14 of the Indian Constitution. The exceptions create two classes of women based on their marital status and immunizes actions perpetrated by men against their wives. In doing so, the exception makes possible the victimization of married women for no reason other than their marital status while protecting unmarried women for the same acts. Thirdly, it defeats the spirit of the section 375 of the IPC. The purpose of section 375 was to protect women and punish those who engaged in the inhumane act of rape. However, exempting husbands from punishments is entirely contradictory to that objective, as the consequence of rape, whether the marital status is whatever the marital status is the same whether a woman is married or not. Moreover, married women may actually find it more difficult to escape abusive conditions at home because they are financially and legally bound to their husbands. Also, fourthly, it is violative of Article 21 of the Constitution of India. According to the interpretation of the Supreme Court, rights enshrined under Article 21 include right to health, privacy, dignity, safe living environment, and safe environment, among others. Further, in the case of State of Kerala versus Krishnappa, the Supreme Court held that sexual violence, apart from being a dehumanizing act, is an unlawful intrusion of the right to privacy and sanctity of a female, and it also held that non-consensual sexual intercourse amounts to physical and sexual violence. Further, in the case of K.S. Puttaswamy versus Union of India, the Supreme Court recognized that right to privacy as a fundamental right for all citizens, and right to privacy includes decisional privacy reflected by an ability to make intimate decisions primarily consisting of one's sexual or procreative nature and the decisions in respect of intimate relations. In all these judgments, the Supreme Court has clearly mentioned that the right to abstain from sexual activity for all women, irrespective of their marital status, is a fundamental right conferred by Article 21, and also forced sexual cohabitation is a violation of Article 21. Now, the UN Declaration Elimination of Violence Against Women defines violence against women as any act of gender-based violence that results in or is likely to result in physical, sexual, or mental harm or suffering to a woman, including threats of such acts, coercion, or arbitrary deprivation of liberty, whether occurring in public or private life. In 2013, the UN Committee on Elimination of Discrimination Against Women recommended that Indian government should criminalize marital rape. Also, the J.S. Verma Committee, set up in the aftermath of the nationwide protests over the December 16, 2012 gang rape case, had also recommended the same. By removing this law, women will be safe from abusive practices and abusive spouses, and can receive the help they need to recover from marital rape, and also can save themselves from domestic violence and sexual abuse.